Greetings, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to this latest edition of Tales from Outer Space. I hope you enjoy. Magic Ian, written by Ice Cream and Wine. The human child gazed impassively at the ranting space elf lord as he stood in front of his ornate throne.
"How did you do this?" he screamed. "Our best scryers told us that the human homeworld had no magic."
And they were correct, said the human. Prior to your invasion, humans had no magic at all.
"Where did you get this from, then?"
shouted the lord. Where do you think we got it from, you tool? You magically enhanced invasion force brought it with them to our planet, said the child. When your portals opened to our world, we knew nothing of magic, the child continued. We had no idea that magic was even possible. When your elven troops strode out of the portals, most of science fiction geeks and science fantasy geeks had to go home and change their underwear. Oh, look, space elves. We'll call them spelves. Nah, that doesn't ring. Spelfs, it is. Then you started ranting about inferior species and your world would be ours. The reason that you were here became apparent. We tried to negotiate with you, but once you started slaughtering unarmed men, women, and children, which was bad enough, and when you started to eat the dead children, you did something for us that had never happened before, the child said. For all of history, we would as much kill each other as make friends with each other. You gave us focus for our violence. Violence that pervades our very soul, if you believe in that sort of thing. In a remarkably short time, all humanity united and stood against you. Then we saw that you used magic, against which we had little defense. But your fighting prowess was nowhere close to ours, so we drew out our battles so that your magic was depleted. Once your magic waned, we cut you to ribbons. The common troops were as easy enough, but your magisters were a different story, the child continued. The fireballs and high winds conjured by your magisters caused us no end of problems, and we were hard-pressed to deal with them. And that's when your weakness became apparent. What you call a void metal reduces the usefulness of your magic. You call it void metal, we call it iron. And it started to interfere with your magic the second your troops emerged from your portals.
"Void metal? You have void metal on your world," whispered the Lord.
Have it? The surface of our world is riddled with it. We use it for practically everything, said the child. Our buildings contain iron, as do our weapons and machines. Much like you are nothing without magic. We would be close to nothing without iron.
"How do you know about the void metal effects on our magic?"
queried the Lord. Oh, that's easy. Bert told us, replied the child.
"Bert? Who's Bert? Do you mean Bertonelet Atu?"
said the Lord. Geezer in the green armor. Yeah, that's him. It took him over a minute to pronounce his name, so we called him Bert, stated the child.
"He's one of my finest warriors," said the Lord. "I cannot believe that he would betray his people like this."
It's amazing what one will do to avoid being placed in a void metal cage, said the child. We have him in a copper cage. If he doesn't answer the questions, we lower a bigger iron cage over it. The poor bastard is falling over himself to answer questions we haven't asked him yet.
"What are my other two warriors?" said the Lord.
Blue armor seemed to top himself before we could get to him, said the child. He just sort of melted away into the air. All that was left of him was the armor. Red armor was kissed by a 155mm shell and sort of lost interest immediately, said the child. There was practically nothing left. As an aside, it seems that when your mages die, their portals remain active until shut down by somebody of equal rank, which is a bit difficult when there is only one of them left, and he is our bitch, said the child. Which is how we got to your world. Portals work both ways, it seems.
"Enough,"
bellowed the Lord, directing a fireball at the child, which dissipated before it reached the target. Temper, said the child. You tried that before, so you know that you cannot harm me, and neither can your troops, indicated the spelf soldiers cowering in the corner.
"How can this be?"
bellowed the Lord.
"I do not understand."
Neither do we in the beginning, said the child. It seems that when one of yours dies, be they common soldiers or white mages or magisters, what magic they had seeks a new home. Normally, it would gravitate to the next magic user. It was then apparent that humans are capable of using magic, as the magic that was technically homeless sought out human hosts, as well due to there not being many of your troops left. I'm the product of such a magic transfer, as I was very close to Blue Armor when he suicided. I was hiding in the cellar of my house after he killed my family. He laughed while he was doing it, the bastard. The magic sought me out because I was the closest living being. I don't understand how this all works, and I don't even know the extent of my powers, but I do know that I am impervious to damage, magic or mundane, said the child, which is why it has fallen to me to kill you, as you are the fountainhead of magic that your people rely on.
You cannot kill me. Only void metal can kill me, and the magic shield in place around my palace protects me from the effects of void metal,
laughed the Lord. Your shield prevents the passage of void metal, but not people, said the child, gesturing to the bodies of his former companions. As you can see, my soldiers, even without iron-based weaponry, killed 10 of your warriors for each of mine lost.
Who and what are you? Snarled the Lord.
My name is Ian, and I am a miner, said the child.
I can see that you are a child, but I do not see how you can kill me, observed the Lord.
That is because you only value magic, and not science, literature, and philosophy. Magic is but fleeting, and science is forever, said the child.
Literature and philosophy, absolute nonsense. They have no practical use, sniggered the Lord. Now show me the science, scowled the Lord.
I will show you my magic first, said the child, pointing at the soldier's body. Emerge from the shadow realm, he commanded. The Lord looked on in stark horror as the bodies slowly began to move.
Cut off the heads! Cut off the heads!
Screamed the panicked Lord. His soldiers moved to obey, and in a few seconds the dead were done, and the bodies were stilled.
Not so good with magic, are you, Ian?
Gloated the Lord. Still getting used to it, to be honest, said Ian offhandedly. Now, it is time for you to die. This is going to be a bit of hit and miss, said Ian, raising his left hand with his glowing fingers into the air. The Lord sprang down from his throne and grasped the glowing hand and placed a protective magic shield around it. He lifted Ian off the floor and brought his face close to the child and gloated.
Not so much of a hit, was it?
Ian croaked. More of a miss. Misdirection. Ian screamed as he drove his 6-inch iron spike through the Lord's finely decorated, colorful, and much more importantly, lightweight ceremonial armor. Gurgling, the Lord fell to his knees, then rolled onto his back. The spell troops did more than possible imitation of marionettes who have had their strings cut. This is the appliance of science that you wanted to see, said Ian. However, the lesson learned will be lost on you when you die. The study of science tells us mostly everything. If we ask the right questions and understand what we are asking, that we can understand the answers, mostly, continued Ian. Even silly things like the fake magic glowing fingers that distracted you. Also, the application of literature from our most beloved authors. These are the things that make a man. Iron enough to make a nail, lime enough to paint a wall, water enough to drown a dog, sulfur enough to stop the fleas, potash enough to wash a shirt, gold enough to buy a bean, silver enough to coat a pin, lead enough to ballast a bird, phosphor enough to light the town, poison enough to kill a cow. In your case, the first line should grab your attention, said the child. I said I was a miner, but you interpreted that to mean I was a child, which I am. But it also means to prospect for metals, which I do, as I can magically extract metal from rocks, the ground, and more importantly in this case, the bodies of my companions. Science tells us that the human bodies contain small amounts of iron, and there was enough in my soldiers to extract enough iron to make a spike that is currently boiling your innards. I kidded you that I was trying to raise the dead, but I was extracting the iron from their bodies. That's why they accompanied me. They all suffered from illness and disease that would prove fatal in time. They volunteered to come and die so that I could use their bodies to take you down. The Lord writhed on the floor of the throne room, gurgling and bubbling in agony. Well, it's been nice talking to you, and it's been helpful to watch you squirm, but time marches on for us, mind you, not you, said the child, removing the iron spike from the Lord's chest and sticking it in the Lord's ear, and applying the toe of his boot to it with some vim. End of story. I'd quickly like to thank all the T5 channel members and patrons. Cam Maxwell, Casper Arnholtz, Lord Azrakel, Holly Sister, Dragzoon WRE, and Ambrose Catel. Thank you very much.